Great. Well, I just want to welcome those people who attended and also just thank all of our donors and supporters for this past year. It's been a really wild ride, but with the help of donors, we made it through, and we are headed towards some really interesting and fun initiatives. And today is about learning what happened at Pacuare during COVID and 2020, and getting an update on the turtles that were protected and the conservation that we continue to manage through COVID. And so with that, I'll introduce Claudio Rodriguez. He is our Research and Conservation Coordinator at Pacuare. And really, he accomplishes all the magic that happens in the field with the turtles. And he's amazing and does amazing work. And you'll be able to get a lot more information about the year that he just encountered. So with that, I'll turn it over to Claudio.
Thank you for your time watching this video. Basically, I want to say that we reach these goals because we are a team. So we work together from anybody in the head office in the States, and every research assistance volunteer that we have in the reserve. So we feel like a team. We feel that we are a team. So that's why we did great this year. We had to took some decisions, but yeah, it was a pretty tough year. But we as a team made it. So I hope we keep going on this way. So yeah, this is the magic place that we are in love with. This is why we keep going, even if it's a hard time. We keep working on this because we love to protect this area. We love to protect all the species that we receive in this area. Some of them are critically endangered. There are some others that doesn't even have any classification in the red list. So we are trying to preserve the species, the ecosystems, the place, but as well we are trying to generate some information to classify some of the species and tell the world that there are some other species that we need to protect because they are in danger, and we don't know yet that those other species are in danger. A short history about the reserve. So it was founded in 1989, and it's protecting 2,000 acres and 3.5 miles of front of the beach. So this is the place where we receive the sea turtles, where we protect the jaguars and the big cats, and we have the agami herons. Actually, for the agami herons, Pacuare Reserve is the only nesting site from North to Central America. So all the agamis that we can see all over in North and Central America, they congregate in Pacuare Reserve to lay the eggs. So it is a huge responsibility that we have, protecting this place as natural as we can, because if they have choose this place in thousands of kilometers, there is a reason why. So we have this responsibility to keep this place as it is right now. In 1990, we started the visitors program, and actually the second year of conservation, we start with the monitoring program. So the first year was like the transition between cow fields, all this place and the picture that you saw before, most of these were cow fields. So it's just conservation, protecting the land. We can see how the forests generate in over 21 years. So it's not all of this is not because we just show up 2 or 3 years ago and we did magic. It's been a really hard work growing this program as you can see it today. In 2000, we have EPI getting into the picture, and they have a partnership between EPI and the Pacuare Reserve. And for 2016, we started a transition where the previous administration of the reserve decided to pass the conservation flag to EPI. So right now, Ecology Project International is in charge of the volunteers program, the students program, and as well the conservation and research program in the reserve. Okay, why Pacuare Reserve is important for the conservation of sea turtles? Basically, from 2014 to 2017, we were doing an analysis in most of the nesting beaches for leatherbacks between the States and French Guiana and Venezuela. So basically, we discovered that in the case of Costa Rica, 45% of the females are nesting in the Pacuare Reserve. So protecting the Pacuare Reserve, we can guarantee that we are protecting almost 50% of the females that come to lay eggs in Costa Rica. And we are 3.5 miles to protect almost 45% of the species. Something important to say, Pacuare Reserve is the only nesting site that we can see an increasing of the number of females nesting in Costa Rica. So for the other places, the number of females nesting between 1997 to 2017, all of the others are decreasing the number of females. And Pacuare Reserve is the only place that we can find more females nesting. And actually this 45%, we are expecting that this number or this percentage will increase because it's the only, let's say, natural place that we have in the Caribbean. There are a lot of development all over the Caribbean of Costa Rica, and these 3.5 miles are kept like in a natural way. So that's why the females prefer this area rather than the other nesting beaches. Just to give you an idea where we are located in Costa Rica, we are in the, let's say, in the middle of the Caribbean, and we have water all around. We have the Caribbean Sea, and we have these canals. All these canals are artificial canals. All this was built in 1950s, and right now is an amazing ecosystem that we have on one of the borders of the reserve. So as we have water all around, the only way to get into the reserve is by boat, and there is a lot of management that we need to do in terms of taking equipment, food into the reserve, and that is why it is really important to protect this area as it is. It's important to say most of the lands or the properties around the reserve, we have banana plantation, we have pineapple plantation, and we have another plantations like flowers or so. So this is the only place that is as natural as it's supposed to be. And that is why we have so many species in this area, because every time that we cut the forest around, most of the species have to migrate to a natural place. So that's why in the reserve we can see a lot of species, most way more than in the areas around the reserve. And this is a corridor for the jaguars. So there we have jaguars in the North Caribbean, and we have jaguars in the South Caribbean. So the place that they use to migrate is the reserve. So that's why we have to keep it natural as well. Okay, about the programs that we have, and this is just to give you an idea of what we've been doing for the last few years. The sea turtle program is the oldest and the biggest program, but as well we have some other species that we protect in ecosystem. So we have the big cats and preys program. Basically, we try to install camera traps all around the reserve and try to recognize the different animals that we have passing by. We have the agami heron, is the great heron that you can see on this picture, and then we have the primates or monkeys program. We basically run this program when we have the students. So basically this year we didn't have the opportunity to take any data. We have 3 species of monkeys in the reserve, and one of those, the spider monkey, is endangered, and the other 2 species are vulnerable. We have the bats program. We're trying to understand how in 31 years we got from cow fields to this jungle, and probably the answer is in the bats. Every time that they eat fruits and they pollinate the flowers, so we are trying to understand how far they go, how far they fly every night to eat, and which species of trees or fruits they prefer to eat. And probably the answer on how we get this jungle in 31 years, it's in the bats. Okay, our visitors, we consider every visitor as a key part in the program. So we understand that we all, as a team, we are important, but as well a visitor is probably most important than we are, because it's the only way that we can spread what we are doing. The environmental education is basically changing the perspective of the new generation. After almost 30 years of working in conservation and 20 years of Ecology Project International, we basically understand the impact that we are doing to the communities around. Most of the students we receive in the reserve are between 14 and 18 years, so they are teenagers, and this is exactly the time when we can teach a little bit more about conservation and probably pass the passion that we have on the conservation of the planet. We have older adults as well, and we give the opportunity to everybody. As you can see, from little kids to older adults, we have the opportunity for them to visit the reserve and to get involved in conservation, to get involved in something or some activities of what we do. Important to say, about 50% of the visitors that we have are Costa Ricans. And this is important because in the case of families and the kids that we bring from Costa Rica, most of them, they have an idea of using without any control the natural resources, because as we live in a country that we have so much resources, they have no idea that actually we can do a bad impact into the conservation. So for us, it's important to keep bringing people from Costa Rica and from all over the world. Okay, so here you can see a trend of the number of nests that we have been saving or actually having during the last 26 years. So it is important to say that we can see that this trend is decreasing. And as I mentioned before, Pacuare Reserve is the only place in Costa Rica that we can see that the number of females are increasing. So this is pretty important, because if we consider that the number of nests are decreasing in the reserve, just imagine how the other places are doing. There is a place in Costa Rica, for example, Tortuguero National Park, that the number of females has decreased 90% in the last 25 years. So that's a shocking number in terms of conservation. Roughly, we have saved almost 20,000 nests in the last 31 years. 1.6 millions of eggs. So that's a really important number to consider. 31 years of conservation, continuous conservation. This is the oldest program with continuous conservation of leatherbacks worldwide. And for 2020, so far we have released a little bit more than 70,000 babies. Total of events, as we can see, not all the time that we have a sea turtle on the beach, she is going to lay eggs. There are some times that they decide to come to the beach and then go back to the ocean. There are a few theories why they do that, and one of the reasons, or one of the theories that we are working on actually, is the erosion of the beach. Sometimes they find a really short beach and they consider that it is not a good place to lay the eggs, so they decide to go back to the ocean. But in general, we have been getting the same number of females coming to the beach. It is important to say that COVID-19 pandemic didn't affect the number of nests or the events on the beach. That means that the ecotourism model that we have in the reserve is not affecting the species. So that means that we are not like overusing the reserve for ecotourism purposes. This is an important number. I thought this number was going to be lower for this year. This is how many turtles we see when we are walking on the beach. So how many turtles we see while they are nesting. You can see this is a percentage. So 2015, 77%. We made some management changes, and we, let's say, try to work on the way that we do the night census. For last year, we reached 84%. When we just get the news that Costa Rica was going to close the airports, we thought that this number was going to decrease because we were 18 people covering 3.5 miles of beach, let's say 8-9 hours per night, where we used to have more than 1,000 visitors in one regular season. So basically, our research assistants, when we got the news that we were going to, that Costa Rica were going to close the airports, our decision was, okay, we're going to monitor and protect just half of the beach, because 3.5 miles per night going and coming, it is way too much for the conditions that we have in the tropics. So we took the decision to work on half of the beach. So we were considering protecting 50% of the females, 50% of the beach, 50% of the nest. So we got to 91% because the research assistants, they just because they believe in what they were doing, they decide to work for the whole night, most of the nights. So normally we work for 4 hours. Some of them, and most of them, every night do or did a census for about 8 or 9 hours. So this year we focus on seeing the turtles, collecting the eggs, tagging the females, and keep running over the beach. And we did it over and over and over and over. So it is important to say that even if we were thinking that we were going to have a really bad season, well, we did great in this case. These two girls start walking at 8 p.m. the night before. So they were tired, walking the whole night, and they were happy about the eggs that they saved anyway. Um, so this is the hatchery, just to give you an idea of what is the hatchery. So it is a place that we try to keep as many nests safe as we can. So this is the place where we move in the beginning of the season most of the nest, but then we just fill out the hatchery, because we had about 300 spots to move the eggs. And then we had the decision to create a new management conservation spot. So we had the hatchery, and next to the hatchery, we had another part in the beach to move some other nest. So if we can summarize what we can see in this graph, basically the blue bars is the hatchling success for the in situ or the natural nest. And as we can see through the time, the natural nests are producing less and less babies. And there are a few theories why this is happening. One of those is global warming and microplastic, something that we need to take care in the future and try to do some research on this. But as you can see, the hatchery for the last 3 years, we have been using this conservation tool. And with the research that we do, we are getting better numbers every year. Just to give you an idea, the normal or the accepted hatchling success in the area is between 45 and 50% of hatchling success. So with the hatcheries, we are getting 62, 68, and 71 hatchling success. So we are doing way better than in natural conditions for the previous year. And for relocated nest, you can see that this number is decreasing as well. And probably the reason is, once again, global warming, microplastics. So it seems that the solution to protect these species are the hatcheries and management places next to the hatcheries. So you can see that if we move the eggs from the north, there is 4 to 5.7 kilometers, the bar on the left. If we move the nest from far away in the beach, we're gonna get lower hatchling success. And this is what we discovered this year. We never made, or we never had the need to move nests that far in the beach. So this year we had to did it for a management reason, and we had the opportunity to measure that impact. So we can see that it's causing a bad impact on the hatchling success in the production of the babies. The nests that we move closer to the hatchery, we get better success. And actually we had 3 nests that we produced 100% of the babies. No project before report 100% of hatchling success on a leatherback nest. The impact of the pandemic, it was showing on the visitors and the students that we had. So we were expecting more than 1,300 visitors for this season, and we almost get to 300 visitors. So this caused two-way impacts. One was the environmental education, so we didn't have the opportunity to teach that many people as we were expecting about how to protect the planet, basically, and as well an economical impact. That is why we had to took the decision to close the north station, to work everything from the south. We were not able to travel from the office to the reserve as we used to did it in a previous season. So the economical impact affect the conservation in one or another way. And probably this impact is more related with the new generation that needs this information to make better decisions on conservation impacts. This is the poaching rate. As you can see, poaching rate was decreasing. 2015, 26 nests, and we were doing pretty well. Every year we were like getting this number closer to zero, and that means that we had the opportunity to protect more and more nests every year. So we had these 20 nests that were poached. And I'm gonna be totally honest with you. We were expecting probably 300 or 350 nests to be poached, especially with the decision that we took to close half of the beach. But as the kids keep walking, and I have to say, we normally, because this is a really hard work, we normally request 0.8 FTE to work in the reserve. For this season, the research assistants work 2.3 FTEs, so they work from 16 to 20 hours a day to make this happen. So this 20 for me is nothing. It's like a zero because we were expecting 350 nests poached this season. So this is a great number that we need to be proud of. And as I mentioned before, this is thanks to the communities that we have around. Why? Because they already understand how important how important is the actions that we take. This was 3.8% of the nest that we receive in the reserve. I have to tell that the beach next to us had a poaching rate of 70%. So they had the opportunity to protect just 30%. And probably the key is the environmental education that we've been doing with the communities around. It's really bad to say, but they prefer not to enter to the reserve to poach eggs, and they go somewhere else. Not the communities around, but there are some people that come from farther places, and they know that the reserve is protected. They know about our hard work, so they respect the things that we do inside of the reserve. We base our science in partnerships. We understand that we don't know everything for all these species, so we have a partnership with Upwell and NOAA, and we have the opportunity to track satellite. We track the turtles with satellite monitoring, so we're trying to understand which roads they go. They migrate up to the States and Nova Scotia in Canada. Some others go to the Atlantic and sometimes they cross the whole Atlantic in front of Spain or Portugal. So with this information, we can do some political influence with the different countries. So the idea is to tell the whole America, in this case, Canada, the States, Mexico, Belize, Nicaragua, that it's not only the leatherbacks from Costa Rica. They are going all over America, and it's our group responsibility to save the leatherbacks. It's not only what we do in Pacuare, but with this information, we can generate new political influence to let everybody knows that is our group decisions, what is going to make the difference between conservation and extinction. This is the first time that we have a hybrid on sea turtles. So we had a hybrid between loggerhead turtle on this side of the carapace and a green turtle on this other side. This turtle did not survive, but we have thinking that we have released at least one nest with this condition, with hybrid turtles. Probably we're going to see them coming back to lay eggs in about 20-25 years from now. So it is a new report in science as well that we are doing. It's the first time that we see that we report in Costa Rica and Central America a hybrid turtle. As well, I have to tell, we had a great partnership this season. I'm gonna be honest, I had more time to get ideas on innovation, on conservation. So we had a partnership with Bicobet. It's probably the biggest and more expensive veterinary in Costa Rica. We get close to them because we had some deformations on sea turtles that we were thinking, to describe. So this is the first time that we in Costa Rica do a computed tomography scan, and we have like kind of videos. This is a picture, but if you know how a tag works, it's basically the same technology. Just use it on sea turtles. With this, we had the opportunity, for example, to analyze this two-headed leatherback. So we have this embryo that when we opened the nest, we found two heads in the same turtle, and we are trying to describe what of the systems were, let's say, repeated and which other systems were they sharing. So with this Bicobet partnership, we had the opportunity to do a better science and to try to understand what is going on. The second step of this program is to try to understand why is this happening. This is the last year was the first time in 21 years that I have been working with sea turtles that I see this condition. So something is changing that we can at least mitigate to stop having these kind of issues on the different species. As well, I am working in another group of 163 researchers all over the world, and we are trying to understand how the humans are positively affecting and negative affecting the conservation of the species. So not everything that we do is bad for the species, and especially in terms when we are talking about ecotourism is the key for the conservation of the species, and we already understand and prove that this year. There were so many projects all over the world that had to close their operation because they didn't have funds to run the programs. So this, if we can call market of ecotourism, in our way we call visitors and students, this market is positively affecting what we do for the conservation of the planet. So thank you for your time, thank you for your help. We really appreciate your hard work, and we know how hard it is to make money, and we appreciate that you donate some of that money to the reserve.